Hello you guys and welcome to my channel. I'm so excited to have you here. So in today's video, we are going to be doing another MLM horror stories and scam stories. So I have decided in the month of December to do MLM horror stories / scam stories every single Friday of this month as I used to do. I have also started to incorporate scam stories with MLM horror stories. So I know last week we had someone send like a COVID scam story and stuff like that. So if you have an MLM horror story or a scam story that you would like to send to me to read on my channel, I will leave my email down below for you. But let's just get right into it. I have to leave for work in 1 hour. So I'm like, how many MLM horror stories can we get through in an hour? Let's see. Or more like 45 minutes because I have to get ready and then leave for work. But the first one says, a different perspective from corporate America. Hey there, I feel like I have sent you a ton of emails over the last few days, but I just recently came across your videos and have a lot of examples and things to say. However, I thought it would be interesting to hear from someone who is currently working in textbook corporate America. I'm not going to provide a ton of information regarding the company I work for or state I live in, but I'll give a generic overview of what I do and how it relates to what MLMers dispute. I literally just got off a call with my manager regarding my comp statement, so that's what inspired this whole thing. Anywho, as you would say, let's get into it. So she said, I live in the Midwest and work on the accounting side for a large company. Let's call it retail so I don't narrow it down too much. I do not have a college degree, and I had literally zero data entry, payroll, or overall office work experience. My prior career was in the medical field, surgery, and post-operative care, so it was a hard left turn. I was hired into an entry-level position in 2017 at $13.25 an hour, and I currently hold a position in project management. I am salary now, but after I did the calculation, I'm making right around $26.63 an hour. We also get annual bonuses based on how well the company performs, and the amounts vary across positions. My bonus this year was $9,295.50. This means I have more than doubled my original salary over the last 5 years. That salary amount may not sound like a lot, but the cost of living in my area is incredibly low. I've had friends visit me from out of state and comment how my house would be worth over $1 million in their area, which is outrageous. I live in a quad level home with 4 bedrooms, 3 full bathrooms with 3 living areas. We live comfortably for my area, and that's what I'm trying to get at. Side thoughts, this is already starting to sound mega braggy, but I'm trying to paint a picture of how corporate America isn't this evil empire that ruins everyone's lives. I felt so uncomfortable writing just that bit, and it makes me think about all those videos of MLM reps saying how much money they make and flaunt all of their expensive things, and I could never. It's hard enough being vague and anonymous. I could not imagine saying it all over social media. That's so cringy. Moving on. To break down my income, I received an increase of $13.38 over 5 years. I do want to be transparent because this can be misleading considering I didn't get a steady increase of $2.68 a year, but rather I received small raises as an hourly employee, then a larger increase once I jumped to salary. When I was getting paid hourly, I got 2 raises per year. One we all received annually, and the second raises were due to my performance. Not everyone received those second raises, but because I was a top performer in my position, I was compensated for that. Annually, I'd get about 45 cents an hour raise, then the performance ones were over $1. My company also looked at comparables for the work I do in the area and have adjusted my salary to reflect that. It is certainly not a 10-cent raise a year as some MLM reps have claimed. My job offers flex time, so I can work anytime between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. as long as I reach the 40-hour minimum. If I have an hour-long doctor's appointment, I could attend that appointment without having to take any of my PTO, paid time off, vacation, personal, sick time, but instead make up that time by either working an extra hour that day or break it up into an extra 15 minutes a day. We have a required hour-long lunch and 2 15-minute breaks. We are also not allowed to work beyond 4 p.m. on a Friday. In some departments, they are allowed to leave by noon on Fridays if they hit their 40 hours. Each year, I'm eligible for 15 days of paid vacation, 3 personal days, and 10 sick days. During COVID, we were also eligible for 2 weeks paid leave. We have been working from home since the pandemic hit in March 2020. I have 2 desktop monitors and a laptop that was fully paid for by my company. As a salary associate, I would be eligible for 8 minimum, 16 maximum weeks fully paid maternity leave. As a male, you would receive 2 weeks paternity leave and any PTO I wanted to add in addition to that. If adopting, they offer a $6,000 reimbursement to the adoption fee. So I can work from anywhere. I can sort of make my own hours and do not work outside of those hours. I am paid for the work I do. I can move up the ladder and increase my pay. I have benefits. I have regular salary increases. I receive yearly bonuses. I can rely on my paycheck every month without fear of it decreasing and having to overwork myself to get back up to the salary I want. I don't sell anything. I don't really talk to anyone, but when I do, they aren't randos on the internet. I can afford trips that I want to take. I bought a brand new Jeep and got to choose the colors, no strings attached. I can leave work to pick my kids up from school and attend any and all of their school events. I don't have a degree, though I could be reimbursed for my schooling if I went back. I have bereavement that lets me take time off work to be present with my family. I didn't pay a dime to work for my company. I work in my PJs sometimes, but you didn't hear that from me. I know and acknowledge the CEO of my business and do not claim to be one. No one has to report me. I have full control over what my job looks like. Because of the role, I have the freedom to create my materials, schedule my meetings under my terms, discuss projects with other leaders in my company, and actually have a voice. Most importantly, when I'm off the clock, I'm off the clock. Nights, weekends, vacations, when I'm sick, when my kids are sick, when someone dies, when I'm eating lunch, when I'm severely injured. I am left alone. I don't think about my work and I'm present with my family. Did I hate my entry-level job? A little bit, but I still worked my butt off to get where I am today. Only I don't believe that if I can do it, you can too. I have a special skill set and a very specific position I was working towards. Now that I have it, I'm content. I don't plan to move up anymore, nor am I in fear of dropping back to hourly. If you have any questions or want me to debunk anything else they've ever said about miserable 9-to-5 corporate jobs, give me a shout. I'm sure I've missed something along the way. So thank you so much for sharing your story. Now, I know this wasn't like a horror story, but I thought that this was a good one to go over because I feel like in MLMs, they try and make it seem as if every other job is horrible, that anybody who works a full-time job, a corporate job, a 9-to-5, that those people are just miserable. They hate their life. They have no freedom. So this is someone that is sitting here saying, no, you can have that if that is something that you want to work towards. And I think that a lot of people in MLMs try and make corporate look as if it's this pyramid scheme scam or something like that. And I feel like MLM reps don't ever make any sense when they talk about corporate America like that, because if you were to actually break down what you do in corporate versus what you do in MLMs, there would be no comparing them or comparing corporate America to pyramid schemes. So I really liked this one. I thought that it was a good one to kind of debunk a lot of what we see in these stories. A lot of the times people will send us MLM horror stories that talk about things like this, the fact that they were in MLMs and they had to work every single day. They didn't get time off. They had to work when they were giving birth to their child. Things like that. I feel like these stories showcase that you don't need to be in an MLM to find something that you can actually have freedom with. Even though MLMs don't give freedom anyways, they just like to present that you get freedom with them. So I did really like this one, but let's see the other one. What is the next one that we have? So we have a Primerica MLM horror story saying Primerica rep targets mom and daughter. It says, "Hi Deanna, thank you so much for reading my email and all that you do to raise awareness against these companies. This is not the first time I posted a story to you, but I wanted to share another story about my run-in with MLM businesses. As a refresher, I was a college student studying nutrition. I was targeted by 4 MLM companies. I joined Isogenics with buying products only and left after less than 3 months because of the cost and terrible products. I have since graduated and work at a job helping low-income women and their children receive better food access. I love my job and can't imagine doing anything besides maternal and child health." To the meat of the story. In early December, my new church hosted a women's get-together at a local cafe in town. Here are 3 people relevant to the story: my mom, Alice, her friend and coworker, Catherine, and the Primerica rep, Sophie. So Sophie sat next to my mom and Catherine and started a conversation about investing and saving money. She shared that she works at Primerica and something felt off. Have I heard this company before? I thought, why does it sound like a scam? First thing I did was look up Primerica on my phone as Sophie was talking. And yep, it was an MLM company. I don't know why this continues to happen. I am somehow a magnet for MLMs, and it is slimy to have Sophie reach out to a church event to buy her products or promote her product. Sophie offered to speak with my mom and I to discuss insurance later just to see if we could invest. I knew next to nothing about Primerica, nor how a company that sells insurance and investment policies can be an MLM. I decided to at least speak with Sophie about what she is talking about. During our Zoom meeting, she asked me questions about how much I make, how much I have in savings, checkings, how much I am in debt. Yeah, I felt uncomfortable about the whole thing. I hate talking about money, especially to strangers. She suggested that I invest a small amount of money with her, but I shared that I'll think about it. After researching how Primerica works, I sent my mom 2 articles sharing how scummy the company is. After researching how Primerica works, I sent my mom 2 articles sharing how scummy the company is. She was thankful that I warned her about Sophie because she also spoke with my mom about investing. Another man from the company spoke with Catherine, but she shared that sales would not be best for her, so she declined. By the time you see this email, I would have texted Sophie and told her that I won't invest in Primerica. All 3 of us will be avoiding this business immediately. I pray this is the last time I ever get requests to support or join these companies. They will find anyone to target for their schemes. College students, new grads, single parents, stay-at-home parents, people who lost their job, you name it. Again, thank you for your channel. You're doing the Lord's work. So thank you so much for sending that story. I actually have made a video about Primerica. I haven't done a deep dive or anything like that on them, but I have had them in 4 or 5 of my MLM horror stories series. And then I've also made an interview video titled Primerica Insurance MLM Exposed, interview with an ex-Primerica rep, where I sat down with an ex-Primerica rep that essentially exposed everything. That video was made back in March of 2022, so I will link that video down below if you want to watch it or send it to anybody. And I kind of want to bring my interview series back. I was only doing it for such a short time, and then I know a lot of people had emailed me that I never got to interview. I know someone in Beachbody that I did Beachbody with that wanted me to interview them, and then just times and stuff never worked out. So I definitely feel like I want to bring that back, but I'm not sure if you guys have enjoyed that series. So let me know if that is a series that you would want me to bring back. So far, I've made a video on It Works, or I made 2 videos on It Works, one on Beachbody, one on Primerica. So if that is something that you guys would be interested in me bringing back, definitely let me know. But I'm also glad that this individual decided to actually look up Primerica. That's what ends up happening with a lot of people when getting recruited, is they never tend to actually look up the company. So when they're getting recruited into an MLM, especially when you're in person, it's harder to kind of say no, especially if you're someone who doesn't like confrontation or anything like that. You may be less likely to say no to an opportunity that someone's talking about. But I know the best thing that you could possibly do is to just research it in the moment, or let someone know, hey, I'll get back to you, give me your number, give me your email, whatever it may be, and get back to them later, because that's how this person found out it was Primerica and that it was an MLM. So I'm glad on that part, because I feel like a lot of people get roped in person because they are never really given the time to actually research the company. I feel like that happens for a lot of people, where in the moment in person, that rep is going to try and really push you to get started right then and there. So I am glad that this person did look it up, because they got themselves out of joining this and then helped their family out at the same time. So the next story, I don't get a lot of Scentsy MLM horror stories. Let's do it. And then I have a scam story, a coaching scam story that I'm going to read after for y'all, or next for y'all. So this is a funny Scentsy story. The email starts off saying, "Hey girl, winky face, JK. I just found your channel and thought maybe you'd like to hear this MLM adventure that happened to me. It's pretty funny and it's definitely a horror story, but more for the girl doing the Scentsy presentation than it was for me. I work with a group of girls at work that I supervise, and we all grew really close and became friends. We often planned nights out and other such things that involved a lot of drinking and many memorable evenings. One night we were going to have dinner at one of the girls' houses, and she told us that her sister would be there with a friend that wanted to do, and I quote, a presentation for some candles and whatever that she sells. That should have been the first red flag, but I didn't ask any questions and I didn't care at all. I figured I'd get a candle or 2 if they weren't expensive. I wasn't super knowledgeable about MLMs back then, and I didn't even know exactly what they were. We have a great evening, eat some really good food, and we drink a lot. I don't even recall at the time when the presentation started. All I know is that an uncertain number of hours passed by as we drank 3 bottles of wines and countless rum and cokes. As you can imagine, we all blitzed out of our minds by the time the Scentsy lady started presenting. She is, unlike us, very sober. And not only does she not know any of us personally, apart from my friend's sister, she doesn't seem to be having a great time either. And and it only just started. Which I understand, it must be extremely uncomfortable asking drunk strangers to buy $50 candles. Poor girl. It was about to get worse though. $50 candles. Scentsy candles are $50? Oh my gosh, I thought that like Bath and Body Works candles at $25 was outrageous, but $50, I could never. So she said, we laugh and joke throughout the entire presentation, and frankly, we're not paying attention to anything that she says. I mean, we look at the pretty pictures in the catalog she gave us, but the second she starts talking about the edible candles, it degenerates pretty fast. We make some of the most unhinged jokes acting out how we would eat said candles, oh no, off of our significant other's bodies. We ask her if she has one that we could test, and she does. And oh boy, do we test it out. Oh no. Mostly on our arms. Again, I say poor girl. And look, I know it sounds wild and awkward, but we were a pretty close group and had little to no boundaries. We start having discussions about very explicit things, and the representative is visibly annoyed at this point. Maybe I felt bad, but all of us were just too drunk to really think about caring at that point. After I go out to move my friend's car from the street where it's parked into the driveway because she was too far gone to understand how to drive stick, and there's some laws here where in winter cars can't be parked in the street past 11 p.m. I come back inside to the representative patiently waiting at the table with a scowl firmly planted on her face. Did I notice? No. Did I care? Also no. Once I sit down, she asks us if we would like to buy anything. The room is silent for the first time that night. She closes her catalog and says, I didn't think so. And she sounds so irritated. After that, she packs up her things and leaves quickly. I catch the sister utter a sorry to her, and okay, maybe I do actually feel bad for her for the first time that night. The girls and I discuss this upon her leaving, and we come to the conclusion that trying to sell expensive candles to a bunch of drunk girls is probably a very bad idea. I mean, what did she expect? I understand it's not her fault, and we are a bit of a rowdy group, so I get that people have so much patience to work with, but I don't understand why she and my friend's sister thought this was a good idea in the first place. Hopefully that turned her off selling stuff for MLMs, who knows, but I won't forget that night. Trying to sell to a bunch of people that have been drinking probably isn't the best thing, but maybe her sister or the friend and stuff thought that selling to people who were intoxicated was a smart idea because maybe you could manipulate people easier by doing that. Now, I don't know if that was what she was thinking, but I can only imagine what someone's thinking when they're trying to sell something to people and then they do it in an environment like the environment that this person explained, where everyone has been drinking all night, and maybe she thought that would loosen people up and make them want to actually buy her $50 candles. But I think that is kind of ridiculous that she would try and sell her candles on a night like that. But I know that that happens a lot where people do those parties or they do at-home parties, but normally when they do parties, they don't do it in that sort of environment where a bunch of people are drinking. So let me know what y'all think about that. I'd be very curious to hear. Now we are going to read a coaching scam story. So this story was sent to me a very, very long time ago, and I have a lot of stories that over time, maybe I accidentally passed them and I didn't get a chance to read them, and maybe they sent it to me like 6 months ago and I accidentally missed it. So a couple weeks ago I went through my email and I was like, okay, let me find all of the ones that I maybe accidentally skipped, because I always star them when I am done with that email and have read them. And there were actually like 20 plus stories that I did not know that I had or that I accidentally skipped. So I was like, oh my gosh, let me save all of these. So I have like 20 saved stories from a while back that I just never got to read. So I'm going to read this scam story, but it was sent to me a while back. So it starts off with saying, "Hi Deanna, I recently found your channel and I'm so obsessed. I have a story about a coaching scam that isn't technically an MLM, but I wish I had known the signs of a scam before, but I might not have fallen for it. I hope this story helps other girls not fall for the same thing." So a few years ago, I was interested in starting my own career coaching business. I worked as an online educator helping people transition their careers and wanted to take the skills I had and make it a side business so I could pay off my debt. I went to a panel event with young entrepreneurs who had turned their side hustles into full-time jobs, and it was great. One of the girls on the panel, Hannah, seemed pretty interesting and had a full-time business helping coaches start their business. Red flag number 1. I was really impressed with her journey and thought she was cool. We spoke after the event and she said she would be in touch and we would hang out. A week later, Hannah emailed me to set up a time for us to talk. I scheduled the call and she emailed me a questionnaire to reflect on before our call. Red flag number 2. We talked on the phone and I had no idea that it was a full-on sales pitch for a coaching program. She used some really slimy sales tactics to get me to agree to everything she said. And eventually, by the end of the call, I felt so guilty that I wasn't investing in myself, that I was ready to agree to whatever she said. She told me about clients she had who had quit their jobs because their side hustle was so successful. Red flag number 3. Hannah told me their program was $5,000, and when I said I couldn't afford it, I couldn't pay that in cash and was almost maxed out on my credit cards. She told me I should get a personal loan to make it happen because I couldn't afford to not do it. Red flag number 4. I unfortunately took the bait. I got a personal loan to consolidate my credit card debt, which thankfully ended up being not stupid and helped me get out of debt faster. But I did pony up the $5,000 for the program, $5,000. That's insane. Once I paid, I got access to the modules and would be able to schedule 3 phone calls and send 3 voice memos to her, my coach, over the next 10 weeks. The modules were the shittiest PowerPoints I've ever seen with weak voiceovers. I'm an online educator whose job it is to create content, so this quality was insulting and the content was horrible. It was also general and vague that there was no way to actually apply it. And the tactics she did prescribe sounded just like MLM. They even had the 100 list and everything. If y'all don't know what that is, the 100 list is literally where you write on a piece of paper 100 names of people that you know and that you will go through and actually invite them to join your MLM. So it seems like this person was teaching her to do the same type of things that MLMs are teaching. In our phone call, she advocated buying IG followers and guilting people into signing up during our discovery calls. At the end of 10 weeks, all I had to show for it was an embarrassing Facebook group and no new clients. Number 1, buying Instagram followers is dumb. If you buy Instagram followers, you don't actually get real authentic likes, comments, views, engagement. So what's the point? So your follower count can be up. There's no real point of it because if you're not actually having people engage with you and respond to your stories and enjoy the content that you're making, there's no point of just having a follower count be higher. It actually messes up your Instagram more than it helps you. At the end of the program, she set up a call with me to ask if I wanted to re-sign up with the Elite program for $12,000. I said no because I hadn't made my money back from her program, thus couldn't invest more. She acted extremely disappointed and said things like, okay, well, if that's your choice not to invest in your business, I guess I can't change your mind. It sucked, and I realized then that she had totally taken advantage of me and she didn't care about my success at all. Even though the experience with her sucked, after all those slimy tactics, I realized exactly what I don't want to do. And now I have my own successful career coaching business that I built using none of the things she told me to do. It just goes to show that by being yourself and true to your character, you can build a real business for yourself instead of scamming people and making people feel bad about themselves. If you choose to read my story, keep me anonymous. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I feel like this happens to a lot of people. There are so many coaching scams out there that we have seen. I know I've seen a lot within the past couple years where people are trying to just be coaches on the internet. And it's happening a lot actually with MLM reps. There are a lot of MLM reps that are, whether they're leaving an MLM and becoming like a life coach or something, some of them are actually staying in their MLM and then they're becoming life coaches or business coaches, when in all actuality, they don't understand business. When you're in an MLM, you work for a company. You are a sales rep for a company. You don't own your own business. And that's the true difference. You normally don't learn marketing techniques, how to build your own brand, how to build your own business. You're not learning that in multi-level marketing companies. So for a lot of people, they don't ever get these skills that they need to go out and do their own business. And I just find it interesting that she also uses the same tactics that MLM reps use. And it makes me curious if she was like previously an MLM rep, because a lot of MLM reps will go into life coaching and business coaching, giving the same exact advice that they would give in the MLM, when running an actual business and being in an MLM are two different things. You can't give the same advice for both of those things because 90% of the time they don't equal out and they don't make any sense. So I feel like that's a big issue with MLMs, is they want to say we're business owners, we're businesses, but then they don't actually ever learn true business techniques, true business tactics, how to actually run a business. Because at the end of the day, you don't control anything in an MLM. You are a sales rep for a company that has no creative control. You have no control over pricing, how to make a product, how to get the product out to consumers, how to market that product, how to build your own websites for that product. Like, you don't actually learn how to build a business from the ground up. And I think that's a lot of problems with MLMs, is you can't really do that. You can't go from being in an MLM using those same tactics and then going to teach people how to make their own business from the ground up with those tactics. It will just never work out. So I'm very curious if this person was someone who was in an MLM prior to that, because the whole 100 list made me think about it. But yeah, that is going to be all for today's video. I have about 15 minutes until I have to leave for work. I'm also going to go grab some Starbucks because why not? I'm tired and I love my Starbucks. It reminds me of Monday's video when the person was talking bad about my Starbucks, or about Starbucks coffee. And I was like, you know what? Starbucks makes me happy. So if I want to get myself a little tall coffee, I'm going to get it. I'm going to enjoy it and I'm going to be happy. And can't no MLM rep tell me otherwise. So with that being said, don't forget to leave a like, any comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you have an MLM horror stories or a scam story that you want to send to me, that email will be down below. And I will see you guys next week for a new video. If I work an hour long, go back. As a male, I would receive 2 weeks per. So I loved this story. It was more so not like an MLM horror story. Sophie sat next to my mom and Catherine, and after researching how and the tactics she did. If you choose to read my story, Lord, the way I get tongue twisted reading these stories, I cannot get it together.